Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and I am about to dive into a topic that I had a lot of fun speaking about over this past weekend. So I'm fresh off a trip out to Wichita, Kansas on my speaking tour. This time, a little bit of a different topic. I typically tour around the country speaking to other doctors, people, other practitioners who want to learn about functional medicine, functional nutrition. Most of the time, there's a strong emphasis on gut health and adrenal health. This one's a little twist. I had an opportunity to go out and do a really fun seminar, I'd call it. And the part of the fun was the preparation for it. And this was about longevity. And what was fun about it, this is probably for the last 10 years of my life, I have done a deep dive and been maybe even a little bit obsessed, I might say, with the idea of longevity, with the idea of improving myself, with the idea of also understanding that I'm not 20 anymore. So I had a lot of fun preparing for it and then also delivering amazing people out in the Midwest. If you've never been out there, which I have not really been out to the Midwest. Now, this was my second visit to Wichita, Kansas. And each time, that's what I would tell you, my takeaway was there's some just good old-fashioned people out west. When people ask me, what do you mean by that? And I said, I don't know. Really what I would say is that when you just think of good old-fashioned, what you would think is just good old Americans, that's what you see, and that's what I met in Wichita, Kansas. So shout out to my friends out there. It was a pleasure being with you for an entire Saturday, and I look forward to one day coming back. Maybe sounds like maybe our next trip is going to be up to Kansas City there. Anyway, so folks, today, 3 things people wait too long to fix. Please hear me out when I talk about this. Breaks my heart when I see it, and here's what I know. I'm as optimistic as anybody, and when it comes to your health, I will tell you, the sooner you get after it, the better. And if you're listening to this and you are 50, 40, 60, 70 years old, doesn't matter. The moment right now, because this is the youngest you're ever going to be. So if you start with a couple of these things right here, right now, and the truth is everything I'm going to talk about today can be improved almost in the moment. You can start getting better, which is really, really cool. So these are the 3 things I'm going to encourage you absolutely, positively. Do not wait too long to fix these because these will be detrimental to the quality of life that you have. All right. With that being said, folks, thank you again, once again, for just joining me here, spending some of your valuable time listening to me, hopefully learning from me, hopefully maybe even getting a little motivated. Hopefully these messages find a place in your heart and in your mind that just makes you take more action to continue to be the very best version of yourself, to continue to level yourself up, and just knowing that this world is just a big place. It's a playground for you to play your game in, and hopefully you can be the very, very best of you as you're playing this game. All right, let's dive in. 3 things people wait too long to fix. Number 1 on top of it. So let me give you this analogy first here. I doubt anyone would do this, but imagine driving down the road, getting in a car accident, and then after the car accident, deciding to put the seatbelt on. That sounds silly, right? That's just not something any one of us would do. We wouldn't think that way. Why would we wait until we crash to put our seatbelt on? Yet, unfortunately, our healthcare system practices that way. We literally go to the doctor, and if nothing looks wrong, they say, well, good job. I'll see you again 6 months or a year. We'll come back when something's wrong. And that sounds insane. Wait until you crash and then come back. We don't practice healthcare in our country. So unfortunately, too often, we have literally just waiting until something goes wrong, drastically wrong, dis-ease, disharmony, dysfunction in life. We're waiting for these things to happen before we do anything about them. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And we'll go into that in just a moment here. But number 1, we're going to start with these are the 3 things that you do not want to wait too long to fix, because if so, man, the quality of life just in general will continue to diminish at a rate that you do not want it to diminish at. All right. Number 1 is this: mobility. Yes, flexibility. Do not tell me and do not say in your mind, I've always been tight. It's not true. We're born like Gumby. Somewhere along the way, our lifestyle, how we do or do not move our body, combined with our injuries, combined with our diet, determines how well your body moves. If anyone tells you anything other than that, they are lying to you. So your diet absolutely can make you tighter. Having a poor diet, sitting in a desk most of your life, will also impair the way that your body moves. But here's the beauty. The moment you start working on your mobility, your flexibility, your ability to move your body, it improves. So we did do a demo in the seminar, and I've done this all around the country, and I'll walk you through it. If you're watching this, awesome. But if not, you can just listen to me. First test we do, just to see how well you're doing, is stand with both your legs straight, knees kind of no bend in the knees, and bend over and touch your toes. Just see how well you can do it. Everyone listening to this, you should be able to touch your toes. Now, inevitably, some of you are already saying, but I can't do that. And you start filling in the blank. I understand that. And there's a lot of those reasons or excuses, if you want to call them. And listen, some of them are valid. Some of you got fused discs and all this kind of stuff. But nonetheless, we all should be able to bend over and touch our toes. So now the second thing that I'm going to have you do is just squat down. Spread your legs just a little bit, about hip width apart, and just squat all the way down. It's like you're going to sit, almost like you're going to put your butt on the floor, but your ankles are bent, your knees are bent, like you're squatting all the way down. Go as far as you can without injuring yourself, and then stand back up. You should be able to get your hamstrings on the back of your calves. So when you squat all the way down, your hamstrings should meet your calves. Now that by itself is, in yoga, we call this posture malasana. That is the single most popular posture in the world, most utilized posture. Some people, some cultures, that's how they sit and they eat. That's a lot of children need to squat down when they want to, bend down. Now, what I'd tell you to do is just bend over again and see if you can touch your toes. The beauty is this: if you actually did what I just explained to you, it was easier for you to touch your toes the second time. And that is just my point here of saying, if you've lost mobility, the moment you start working on it, it starts to improve. You can lengthen muscles. You can lengthen tendons. We know this for a fact. You don't lengthen ligaments, but tendons and muscles, we can revitalize them. So if you are starting to lose range of motion, it does take some effort. That's the challenge here. Now, the other challenge is, you're going to hear this repeated several times here, is that no one's going to encourage you to improve your mobility. In fact, part of our society, part of our culture, part of our lovingness of each other is to support each other in a way that actually makes each other worse. Let's just say you are, a really proud husband, and your wife is having a hard time reach up and, put the luggage away when you guys travel because it hurts her shoulders. So you do it for her. And now she doesn't have to use that range of motion. Or maybe, I don't know, any example. It's hard to reach behind the seat and tell the kids to quiet down, or reach something behind the driver's seat with your arms, so you stop doing it. So what happens is, because some of these ranges of motion are difficult, we stop doing those ranges of motion. It hurts to throw a ball, so we stop throwing balls. But this is where the problems begin. That really means we are diminishing the potential of experiences that we can have in life. And the more that this happens, the faster and the farther we fall. And the challenge here is that at some point, the lack of mobility will be the cause of dysfunction and disease, meaning that's when you'll tear your rotator cuff. That's when your knee blows out. That's when you have a hip with your knee. We start thinking that our knee, our cartilage, is wearing down because it's age. No, our knee wears down because the muscles around it are so tight. They're so bound up that there's so much pressure being put into that knee joint that the fundamentals, like walking around in life, are starting to wear down that cartilage. So tightness is a problem, but the beauty is, the moment you start working on it, it can start to improve. Every time I'm in a live event, I demonstrate this, and everyone looks at me going, wait a minute. You're right. I just started 60 seconds ago, and I was able to improve my range of motion, which means that it can improve the quality of your life. Folks, when I watch some of the elders in our culture right now, in our society, and I don't even want to put a number on that. I'm just going to say people who walk around or act as if they're old, I mean, they can't move. If they could get their range of motion back, their lives would change. They wouldn't have to shuffle step. They wouldn't be thinking that they're going to trip over every little doorstep. All of these little things are high important things that we're able to do later in life. And that's why mobility is on my top of my list of saying, do not lose your mobility. And if you are, start working on it. Are there great things like yoga and stretching classes, physical therapy and chiropractic and all these other things that can certainly help you improve that? Absolutely. And I'm going to get some suggestions in just a moment. But number one thing you do not want to wait to improve, or to fix for that matter, is mobility. I think, yes, I'm talking about your flexibility. It can literally be improved within 5 minutes. And if you're on the other end of this, listening to this and saying, I'm so tight, I can't stretch, I can't go to a yoga class, listen to yourself and give yourself an opportunity to improve, because you got to ask yourself too, if it doesn't get better now, How and when will it get better? All right, moving on to number 2 here. So number 1 was mobility, things you do not want to wait too long for in order to fix. And number 2 is this, metabolic health. This is a no-brainer. You know this, yet I'm going to go through this. When I say metabolic health, what am I talking about? I'm talking about obesity. I'm talking about getting overweight. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. I'm talking about insulin resistance. I'm talking about fatty liver disease. Folks, and here's why you don't want to wait too long. You might say, well, I'm going to lose some weight next year. Oh, I'm going to change my diet next year when it gets a little quieter or I'm not quite as busy. Here's the challenge. It doesn't ever happen. We don't get any less busy. We don't have any less stress in our lives. Those things continue to be the same. Challenge here is this with metabolic health. If you are getting derailed and you start to recognize you're gaining weight, you're getting a little sluggish, you maybe read some labs. We got to run the labs, folks. We got to know the score. If you haven't run your insulin resistance yet, probably haven't been listening to my podcast long. But here's the deal. If you have things like insulin resistance, if you have hemoglobin A1C, if these things are all starting to elevate, if you start to notice that you have things like just the writings on the wall for things like fatty liver disease, if you start to see these things, you are in a constant state of inflammation. At that point, it is that inflammation, or what now we call inflammaging, where that inflammation is aging you faster. That inflammation is the one thing, specifically insulin resistance, which is going to put your entire body in a state of inflammation, leads to the 4 horsemen of disease. What are those 4 horsemen? Cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and neurodegenerative diseases. If your metabolic health is getting off track, it's already off track, know that you're headed for a head-on collision with one of those 4 horsemen. Now, with that being said, can you change it? The answer is yes. And I'm going to clue you in on all 3 of these on whether or not you are really going to make the changes. There's a couple key signs to look for. But I want to tell you this, when it comes to metabolic health, more often than not, I think the reason that many people don't step up and say, I'm going to make change here is because they think they have to swallow the elephant instead of just take a bite at a time. So literally, your diet is going to be the hardest thing you ever do. The exercise wrapped around that's going to be the easy part. But little bit by little bit, taking chunks and pieces, starting with maybe, and this would be a big one, say maybe you just start with, you know what, I'm going gluten-free. I'm going to downregulate inflammation. I'm going to flex some disciplines here. I'm going to get some of this stuff out, and then I'm going to see the results. And you do that for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, maybe a year. You make a commitment. Maybe you decide that you're no longer going to drink alcohol during the weekend. You only have a glass or 2 on the weekend. And then all of a sudden you recognize that when you're drinking, the next day kind of sucks. You have brain fog. You don't feel as good. You're not as energetic. You're not as good as a mom or a dad, which you're not. And you're not as good as a coworker, all the above. So you just start to drink less. And you start to add up all these little victories. And next thing you know, you've completely morphed your metabolic health. But this second thing that I'm talking about right now is metabolic health, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, all of these things, obesity. The longer they are there, if we wait too long to fix these, I'm not telling you can't, but everything is being downregulated, meaning everything in your body is being beat up. Your heart is being beat up. Your brain is being beat up. And then what happens, we start playing whack-a-mole healthcare. We start chasing all these things around and be like, oh, look at this. We have high blood pressure. Yeah, true. And how to get there. Because metabolically, you got off track. You got inflamed. Most of it being a result of diet. And yes, clean living. And folks, you know the diet you need to be on. You need to be on one particular type of diet. And that is what we call God's garden, which is whole foods, right? If it comes from a root plant tree, walks in the garden, swims in the sea, eat it. Can we use those other strategies, like a keto diet, like a carnivore diet, like a paleo diet, vegetarian diet, Mediterranean diet? Could we use all of those as tools to advance our goals? Absolutely. But ultimately, all of those diets, those are elimination diets, mean no crap diets. All right, number 3 here. Well, actually, before I leave here, what do we really need to do for metabolic health? You need to test, folks. You need to invest in yourself. You need to find some time. Yes, it's going to take some resources, but do a complete metabolic evaluation. Really, we've talked about it many times here on our Health Made Simple podcast, what we consider either a male or female comprehensive panel. It's over 100 markers. We want to see everything: insulin resistance, particle sizes, triglycerides, HDLs, iron panels, ferritin, homocysteine, C-reactive proteins, hemoglobin A1C, folks, all of it. have the big picture in mind. So you're not being blinded. So you're not pretending that anything else is going on other than you have the data and you know what to work with. Once you have it, frankly, I think once you get that data, even if it's not awesome data, you know where you're at. And then you know where to target, especially if you have someone that can help move you in that direction, create some good strategies. All right, number 3 is this. Last but not least, I don't even know if I had to order these. I don't even know which one I'd put first. But last, certainly not least, is strength. So first one was mobility, second one was metabolic health, and third is strength. More often than not, the way I see this happen is that people just start to slowly empty their cup. Slowly but surely are losing strength over time. And here's the challenge. There's no one out there to hold us accountable, to say, hey, doc, you look like you're getting a little weak here. Your muscles aren't as big. You're not as mobile, not as strong as you once were, not as vital as you once were. No one does that. We don't really have anyone in our lives that holds us accountable. And again, in this situation, unfortunately, more and more people are catering to the weakness, to the fragility, to the lack of mobility. So the people around us that love us, especially us guys trying to help our wives, we will then pull up close to the grocery store so you don't have to walk far because maybe it hurts to walk. We will carry your groceries for you because you can't carry your groceries anymore. We'll put your luggage up. And as loving and as kind as this may seem, it's creating a fast track to the end result, which is a feeble, broken down, fragile human being. Losing strength happens literally inch by inch, little bit by little bit. But if we are not, so hear me closely on strength, and just saying, hey, listen, I'm pretty busy, I'm out in the yard and all that kind of stuff. Great, awesome. And if you're not intentionally building strength, you're losing it. And we know this. We now see all the data across the board. Longevity, aging, number one defense against even cancer now. We're seeing more and more evidence that the number one defense against cancer is muscle mass. So the more we look at these things, we go, wow, what does it really mean? It means if you have a lot of muscle mass, it means you're probably living a pretty good lifestyle. You're exercising on a daily basis. If you're exercising, there's probably a more likelihood you're going to start to feed your body well, because you want to be prepared to eat and get and to prepared to work out and to get the results that you're trying to get. You start to do those things. You're eating a little better. You're lifting weights, maybe doing some other type of exercise. You're probably going to increase your range of motion just by going through those ranges of motion. So they all really work together. I mentioned earlier, we're going to end on this. I mentioned earlier, how will you know if you're really going to make change? I get this question all the time. I get this question. I don't know why people ask me this question all the time, but it always makes me go into really, really deep thought. And they ask me, Doc, do you think people can change? The answer I want to just say yes, everyone can change, absolutely. But there are predictors. Let me put it that way. There are predictors, and the predictor that I see out there, the number one predictor, and this might sound odd to you, is not desire, it's not pain, it's accountability. That's it. Let me give you an example. If you say you're going to start working out and you leave it to yourself, most likely you're going to continue to do what you're currently doing, is work. I don't know, maybe you work out twice a week, whatever, a certain level of intensity, certain level of weight, certain amount of duration of time. You get a personal trainer which is accountability, and all of a sudden things change. You probably work out more frequently. You probably have more duration, and your intensity changes. I see that right across the board. Every component of your life, your physical ability, your muscles, your mobility, your lab testing, all of it. In order for things to change, I truly believe that one of the most significant things that's going to happen is you're going to have some level of true and honest accountability. How you find that, how each one of us finds that, is a little bit different. I pretty much make a public statement every time I'm teaching anything about longevity, is that I made a promise to my wife a couple of years back. This is a tough one, especially as a guy. And one of my promises is that I'm going to outlive her, that I will not leave her here by herself. And take that for what it's worth. And the reason I say that is because the likelihood of that happening statistically is against me, right? Women live longer than men. Practicing here where I am in Florida, this has been, I'm in practice nearly 30 years, about half of it down here in Florida. When I got down here, something became apparent to me that kind of shook me a little bit that I didn't really understand. There was entire communities of widows, of women that they've all lost their spouses. There aren't groups like that for guys because there's just not enough guys. The women are losing their spouses. And I thought about that, and I saw the pain that these women would go through because their man of steel was no longer with them. So for all the guys listening to this, I would say this: if you don't have it in for yourself, maybe you do it for the people that you love the most. So step up for them, and hopefully you're in that category. And ladies, listen, outrun them, stay strong, work on your mobility, improve your metabolic health. Listen, it should be for us. That should be the absolute reason we're doing it. But sometimes we need a little bit more motivation out there. But I'll go back to my point here. I think I think strategy is important. I think it's probably like hand in hand with accountability, but usually with accountability, you're going to find some strategy. But if you're looking and wondering if you're going to wake up tomorrow and finally put on your sneakers and go for that run, or if you're finally going to go down to the store and buy some hand weights and start to use them, or if you're going to join the gym or whatever it's going to be, if you're wondering if that's going to happen, just look around and see what kind of accountability you have, because it is not our spouses and our family's job to hold us accountable. So likely there's no one in your life that's really going to push you to be the best version of yourself. All right. So with that being said, folks, those are the 3 things that I absolutely encourage you not to wait too long to fix. I see it all the time. And I will tell you everything I just talked about today. It is so changeable. It is so easy to increase your mobility. It is so easy to get stronger. Think of it this way. If you're not lifting weights right now, you're not doing push-ups, you're not doing pull-ups, you're not doing anything, you just start. Think about how much stronger you'll be next year than this year. That's how beautiful it is. That's how simple this is. If you don't stretch at all because you're too tight, imagine if you start stretching 5 minutes a day, what it'll be like in a month, never mind in a year. So can we anti-age? Can we push the envelope of longevity? Can we push the envelope of our health span? Not necessarily our lifespan, but it is our health span, the quality of life that we hear. And the answer is hell yeah, we can. All right, folks, with that being said, thank you for being here for another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing it out. Keep spreading love. And of course, take deliberate action for your mind, your body, overall wellness. You gotta be awesome.